Hey, beautiful people of the internet. My name is Ryan. Welcome to the day 24 recap for an October challenge. Man, you'd think after 24 days I would get that intro right. However, I also think at the end of this month I'm going to accidentally start doing that intro on my videos, and maybe hilarity will ensue. At least we can laugh about it. So this is the part 2 of my camping trip this past couple days. So if you haven't seen part 1, that was yesterday's video, you can go and watch that if you want. I guess it's not really necessary that they tie together. This is just kind of, to me, in my brain, they were 2 parts. So what I did is I went out and I camped at a family member's piece of property, and I read a lot of outdoorsy stuff, and when I woke up yesterday morning, I continued that theme throughout the rest of the day. So I read 22 pages in my Pacific Crest Trail guidebook, which was really good. There's also lots of pictures, but it is really dense reading, so I think it averages out by pictures, I mean maps. That was a lot of fun. I really like getting to read that, although it does make me dream about maybe a 2019 trip or a 2020 trip. That's a lot to figure out, but I really want to do it. We'll see. I'll think about that in the future. The other big news is that I have finally finished, oops, I had it upside down, Born to Run by Christopher McDougall for the second time in my life. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that here, just as a quick recap. I think it's book number 4 for me this month. Born to Run came out in, I think, like 2009. When it came out, it kind of gave a lot of credence to a couple things. One, ultra running or trail running, the kind of running I do, anything longer than a marathon or anything longer than 26.2 miles, and specifically on trail very often. It's this like very niche sport, but it was really growing in popularity. In fact, it was probably the quickest growing sport, quickest growing outdoor sport, I think, at that time. So it had a lot of momentum. Another thing that had a ton of momentum was this idea of rebelling against these really built up kind of running shoes, the like traditional Nike model of running shoe, a shoe with a really high heel that kind of sits you at a downward slant. I could go way too much into this. This is the stuff I nerd out about. There was this movement against that, and believe it or not, back to barefoot running. This book makes the argument, and I'll talk about how well or how badly it makes the argument, that we as humans were born to run, and specifically that our ancestors, and like, you know, you go back a long time, and humans, Homo sapiens, were the big advantage we had over Neanderthals, for instance, was that we were good endurance athletes, and we could literally run game to the ground, because, as you may or may not know, we are really terrible sprinters as humans. The body could be designed a lot better to sprint and run really quickly. However, we are really amazing, it turns out, at running long distances compared to the rest of the animal kingdom. Whenever we line up against horses, for instance, at distances of like 50 to 100 miles or longer, we start to do really, really well, whereas they beat us, as lots of animals do, they beat us at distances a lot shorter than that. So once you get over about 50 miles, and specifically particularly once you get over 100 miles, we start to do really well. So that is all interesting and nice. Born to Run makes the argument that this is all kind of definitive proof that all of us were born to run, and that you and I specifically, if we would just kind of kick our shoes off and run like we were designed to, we could run injury-free and run pain-free. And I mean, it goes as far to say that we'd cure cancer, not cure cancer, but basically remove most instances of cancer in America. It makes a lot of really big claims. Of course, that's probably why it sold so well, is that books that make really big claims, nonfiction books at least, that make really big claims in really interesting ways tend to do really well. They tend to kind of capture our imagination. I can tell you, working at a running store, no less than 9 years after this book came out, still people come in the door and they kind of espouse the ideas that were kind of first popularized in this book. The problem with that is that we have kind of taken a turn, the science has kind of taken a turn in the last 5 years, the last 7 years even, away from that, and it's actually kind of been shown that it's not great if you've been wearing a shoe all of your life to, this is way up for debate, and I don't want to act like I'm an expert here, but in a lot of cases it's not great to, when you've been wearing a shoe all of your life, go out and start running barefoot on the asphalt. It turns out stress fractures abound, and all kinds of other problems. So don't take away from this video that either that shoes are your savior or that barefoot can be your savior. That is all kind of in the background of this book. Like, it makes these claims, it goes into these arguments. In my opinion, at least, that's not the value of this book. This book kind of sparked that debate, and I would argue it added fuel to the wrong side of that fire. But the really interesting part about this book, and the thing that I do think holds up, is that it takes a kind of like survey level approach, like really zoomed out level approach to running really long distances and doing that kind of stupid sport. And specifically on a like almost worldwide scale, how we came as humans to run really long distances. And also like why we, like what we love about it, or at least those people who do it, what they love about it, and how you might too also love to ultra run. That's really important to me personally, because when I read this book, I thought that those people were bonkers and nuts, and I never wanted to do it. Now, of course, 6 years later, I am that person, and I can't imagine my life without it. And so it's kind of a really fulfilling cyclic journey to me to get to read this book. Did I still cringe almost every page at some of the outrageous claims that he made? Absolutely. However, I'm super happy that I read it. Happy that it was my fourth book of this month. And I hope that you enjoyed me talking about it, or at least got something out of this kind of spewing of random information that just happened. So that's about it for my update for today. So that makes a total of 29 plus 22, 51 pages, if I'm doing my math correctly. I think that's going to do it, because my arm is going to fall off if I don't stop this video any second. Thanks, I'll see you guys in a video tomorrow. Best wishes.